He lists ping pong as his strongest sport. You're listening to Game Points with Matthew Ross.
.48 here on TSN 690. That was some getting busy music there, Eric Thomas.
I like to keep it fresh around here.
Yeah, apparently.
Especially late night, too.
That might be a little too fresh.
Yasiel Puig of the Dodgers just struck out.
Yes, 2-2 Giants and Dodgers right now in the sixth inning. We'll continue to update you there. It is Game Points here on TSN 690. We're here till 1 a.m. Right now we're going to talk some NHL with our next guest. He is a contributor to ProHockeyTalk.NBCSports.com. You can follow him. It's a very good follow on Twitter.com/Joe Yerdon, Yerdon, PHT. It is Joe Yerdon. Hey, Joe.
Matthew, how are you?
I am well, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
I don't know. That was awkward on both of our ends. I don't know where to go from there.
Well, we can start at the beginning.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you.
Well, first of all, good to have you back on the show. It's been a little bit. Wanted to, first of all, get your take on last night in Boston. Of course, you were on hand. Your thoughts on what happened in the final moments there with Boston, Chicago. I don't want to talk too much about the game, but just wanted to get your take on that.
It was unlike anything I've seen before happen. The way that game finished up, I mean, we went from kind of riding the emotions of seeing Boston go ahead 2-1 and started, myself and the other guys on the site, we started planning ahead and thinking, all right, let's get our act together here to plan for a Game 7. And then, next thing you know, Bickle goes in and crashes the net and scores, and it's 2-2, and we're like, okay, all right, what do we do now? Where are we going from here? And then, we don't even get a chance to go, okay, what are we doing from here? And then going to, Bull and sneaking in underneath the defense and scoring, and we're like, then I got to pack up my computer and be like, all right, I got to get ready to get on the ice, guys, because this one's over. I mean, there's no way Boston's coming back from that. And, sure enough, that's the way it boiled down. I mean, Taves almost gets an empty netter to make it 4-2, and, mayhem ensues. It was just, that kind of finish, it was, I know folks in Toronto took a lot of pride in it because, face it, Boston, yakking a game away like that, it's just the kind of karmic retribution they were hoping for. But, man, I tell you, that a finish like that is unlike anything I've seen in a long time.
Now, were the officials scrambling to get the cup in place and cordon off the dressing room with the champagne, plastic and all that kind of stuff? Was it a frenzy because it happened so quickly at the end?
Well, it's funny because the Stanley Cup has like its own set room aside down in the bowels of the arena like that, and they had.
God, what a snob the Stanley Cup is, huh? I require my own room. I want a handler. He's got to wear gloves.
It's packed away, and I guess by the protocol is Lucic scores and makes it 2-1. The cup stays in the box. And then, Bickle scores, and it's like 2-2, and we're like, all right, I guess he's got to stay in there. Let's at least pop the top on it and have it ready just in case. And then, next thing you know, it's 3-2, and they have to get the thing out, and they got to start polishing it really fast because at that point they only got 58 seconds to get it done. So, they had to get it out, get it on display, take some photos, then get ready to wheel that sucker out of there. But I mean, they had to scramble to get all the barricades up to keep us, us media cornballs off away from everything and. Clear the path for the family and friends that were there for the players to get out on the ice and join them. And man, I tell you that it's about as frenzied of a minute as I've seen of action. I mean, at least they keep us out of there for a half hour after the team's out there and they get to celebrate and do their thing. But it's something I'm never going to forget. I mean, I've covered, this is my third straight Stanley Cup I've gotten to cover, and I haven't been there for the last two clinchers because they're out west, and this time around, I was like, well, geez, skunked again. Third time's not the charm. But sure enough, Chicago made sure I got to have that experience. So I mean, hey, cool, thanks for them.
Joe Yerdon, PhD on Twitter. We're chatting with Joe Yerdon here on Game Points with Matthew Ross. Mo, go ahead.
Joe, don't feel too bad. Jeremy Roenick actually was on U.S. National Radio earlier on today and said he missed the 2 goals that Chicago had scored because he was in the elevator going down, believing that the Boston Bruins were about to win. And when he got off the elevator, he saw the score being in favor of Chicago. But what was the atmosphere like with the Bruins, though? I mean, obviously the Bruins fans were in shell shock, but how were the players post-game in reaction to them losing like they did in Game 6?
They were understandably, just completely dejected. I mean, you lose a game in that kind of fashion. It's the kind of thing you're not going to take very well. And the guys were very low key, and they were they're very disappointed with how things finished up. I mean, especially when it looked like they were poised and ready to go to a Game 7 in Chicago, and one game to take it all, and then just things fall apart for them in the last minute 16 like that. But for them, I feel for them. I mean, you lose in that kind of fashion. I mean, it's tough. And, I know that you're very cognizant of the way that they beat Toronto and then have it done to them. I mean, Tuukka Rask was very open about that. He goes, it stinks to be on this end of it. And I'm sure it's a very understated way to put it, but I mean that kind of loss though. I mean that's so hard. I mean, you can't help but feel bad for him. But at the same point, it's such a duel of emotions. You have just complete elation on the ice with Chicago, and then it's dejection. And those guys, they can't wait to get the heck out of there after losing a game like that.
Joe, moving over to some of the other news going around the league, certainly John Tortorella now landing in Vancouver makes some news. As a reporter, you must be licking your chops. You must be thinking, hey, there's going to be something here that's going to be fun. When does Vancouver visit New York this year? All these kinds of scenarios. And we're joking about it here in the studio, just wondering what kind of stupid question is going to set him off and what will it be. And but your thoughts on him landing in Vancouver?
It's very interesting to me. I think it's going to be curious to see which reporter is going to draw his ire. I think that's what we're all kind of keeping an eye on. It's which reporter in Vancouver is going to be the one that's going to get the old torts to come out. We saw the nice guy sort of reformed John Tortorella at the press conference today, and I think
well, he had to let the ink dry in his contract, right?
He's got to let the ink dry, and I think he wants to give everybody a fair start. Let's give everybody a fair shake right off the bat, and he's going to get to know which guys are going to try to twist him. I
mean, Joe. I mean, there's got to be. It's going to be like the first practice, right? With this team, he's going to yell at one of the brothers, "Hey, Sedin, I want to see a body check." But coach, it's not my style. That was a terrible Swedish accent, but you know what I'm saying, right? He's going to be like, "It's not my style," and he's going to be like, "Well, yeah, that's it. I'm benching you." I mean, there's going to be just some kind of craziness with some of these finesse players they have.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, and I think the Sedins are they're obviously they're easy guys to pick out that you think are going to have trouble with them. Because let's face it, they're not defensive guys by any means. I think you look at a guy like Ryan Kessler though, who's probably going to thrive. He's going to fall in love with a guy like him. The guy, guys like Henrik and Daniel, and then he says he wants to see a little bit more bite out of the team, and everybody just casually looks over at Alex Burrows and goes,
Joe, here's the dream scenario. You ready for this? The Canucks don't trade Luongo, and again he's there by training camp, and again he's there by preseason, and you're hitting these press conferences, and they're asking Tortorella, "Who's playing tonight? Who's playing tonight?" Wouldn't that just be unbelievable?
Considering all the issues he had with people asking him about his lineup in New York, imagine if he has to go in every day and get that question. All right, starting in goal, and end up snapping his head off his neck by Game 5. It's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh my God, you got to those guys so that he doesn't kill the reporter.
All right, I think we lost Joe. Joe, are you still there?
I am still here.
All right, yeah. No, it's going to be funny to me if Luongo is still a part of this team when they break camp or even into training camp. But there's just so many intriguing things about that. But on the other side of things, we've talked about Vigneault in the past. Lindy Ruff in Dallas, this one kind of surprised me a little bit. Just the fact that he was a steady coach, but never really got over the hump, couple of conference finals with a pretty good team a few years ago with Buffalo. Your thoughts on bringing in the guy that they beat in '99?
My view with him is that I think Dallas finally got tired of giving guys their first job in the league. I think they got tired of having fresh faces and doing that. And they said, you know what, let's get a guy who worked for since I was in my last year of high school, he'd worked with the Buffalo Sabres. So I think they figured, well, he's been doing it for a long enough time. Let's see what he's got. And aside from that, I don't know really what the allure is there. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see a fresh face guy get a job this year, but I don't think Dallas was the team that was going to do it. But Lindy Ruff, I mean, geez, talk about twisting the knife for Buffalo fans. I mean, you get the guy who coached the team in '99 and, loses out, the Brett Hull thing, whatever. And then he goes and his very next job, he's not even out of Buffalo for, 6 months. And he's right to Dallas. And then the first question, well, geez, you better not talk to me about the no-goal thing. Oh, geez, thanks. Great. Thanks, Lindy. That's really good. Everybody in Buffalo who did like you probably doesn't like you anymore.
He is Joe Yerdon. You can check him out on prohockeytalk.nbcsports.com. Also follow him on twitter.com/Joe Yerdon, PhD. Thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, Matthew. Thanks for having me.
There you go. That's Joe Yerdon. Coming up on the second hour of Game Points here on TSN 690. Still to come tonight, Jeff Erickson for fantasy baseball. Matthew at tsn690.ca if you have any fantasy baseball questions for Jeff. We'll also talk some, next, pro or con. Do you root for the Toronto Blue Jays? Should you? We debate that next.